I vividly remember that fateful Friday afternoon when they called me into conference room C. The LED light flickered on the ceiling, buzzing irritably like an angry wasp. I already knew that walk, my shoulders suddenly stiff, as the HR girl with the sympathetic smile stood next to a man in a too-tight suit. That was Eric, the new head of strategy, fresh from some overpriced consulting firm that probably printed its diplomas on vibes and venture capital. His teeth were annoyingly white, his handshake too dry, and his ideas smelled like PowerPoint slides mixed with cheap cologne. "We're streamlining operations," he said, as if that was supposed to sound sexy instead of just cutting staff. "Nothing personal, just numbers." Funny thing, I was the one who built those numbers. 18 months of blood, sweat, and carpal tunnel spent building a marketing data analytics platform so efficient it made Swiss watches blush. I coded it after hours, during lunch breaks, even on Thanksgiving weekend when my turkey was still defrosting. And now, Eric was sweeping me out like expired printer toner. They offered me a severance package, 3 weeks' pay, no benefits, and said it with the enthusiasm of a dentist breaking bad news about wisdom teeth. The HR girl handed me a cardboard box that still had a mustard stain from the last layoff. It reeked of fear and someone's microwaved fish. As I stood there, gripping that box like it held the last shreds of my dignity, something odd happened. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even blink. I just smiled. Because what Eric didn't know, and what no one in that room bothered to ask, was that the analytics system, the Nexus, the very one about to process data for the company's biggest product launch next week, required a little something special, a time-sensitive authentication key generated monthly and sent exclusively to my personal Gmail. Sure, tell me I'm non-essential. I packed up my desk with the calm precision of someone leaving a crime scene without leaving fingerprints. My coffee mug, the tiny cactus I never watered, all went into the box. The plaque that said, "You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it helps," that one stayed. Let them keep it, a little memento for the next poor soul. David, the IT manager, hovered nearby, clearly uncomfortable. He looked like he wanted to say something, maybe sorry. Maybe you were the only one who knew how the system worked. Or just I didn't vote for this. But in the end, he just gave me a stiff nod and pretended to check his watch. I paused in the doorway, turned once, and said, "Make sure someone updates the Nexus before the 28th. David blinked. The what? But I was already gone, stepping into the elevator like a ghost, clocking out of my own funeral. What followed was silence. Not rage, not revenge, just quiet, ice-cold calculation. They thought I'd fade into the background, crawl to LinkedIn with a sob story, maybe pivot to freelancing. But I had other plans. Plans that didn't involve salvaging what they broke. Plans that involved letting them burn in the fire they lit. And the best part? They wouldn't even smell the smoke until the data stalled. I showed up the next morning to clean out the rest of my desk, even though nobody asked me to. I don't like leaving things half-finished. Some habits don't die even when your access badge does. The security guard didn't even make eye contact, just buzzed me in like I was some ghost stuck in corporate purgatory. A few folks from accounting mumbled awkward goodbyes. One handed me a half-eaten muffin like it was a condolence prize. I smiled, nodded, accepted it like an Oscar statue, and tossed it in the trash 5 feet later. David from IT was crouched near my old cubicle, pretending to fix something. Wires, maybe, or just his conscience. He kept stealing glances like a kid who broke a window, but hoped you hadn't noticed. I decided to throw him a bone. "Oh, and before I forget," I said, slipping my thumb drive into my bag, "someone's going to need to update the Nexus before the 28th. Otherwise, the authentication will expire." David blinked like I'd spoken in Aramaic. "The what? The Nexus?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "The thing that talks to the data processors. Monthly key. Clock's already ticking. He gave me the nod people give when they don't understand a single syllable but want the conversation to end. Got it. I knew he didn't. Knew he'd file it away in the mental junk drawer with setup out-of-office reply and buy almond milk. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I took one last slow turn around my cube, the half-dead succulent, the cursed office chair that squeaked like a haunted swing set, the sticky note from Mark in HR that said, "Don't let the bastards grind you down." I left it all. Left it for the next overqualified sucker who'd try to keep the sinking ship afloat with duct tape and unpaid overtime. By the time I hit the lobby, Eric, the CSO, was doing his TED Talk routine in the glass meeting room, all chest puffs and market speak, probably pitching future-proof analytics to the board without realizing he just fired the future and the proof. I lingered by the door long enough to see him laugh at something. Smug bastard didn't even know the blade was already in. I didn't bring up the Gmail restriction. Didn't mention that the key generator was an off-grid tool I'd written myself because they wouldn't approve a cloud license. Or say how I encrypted the unlock path behind a tokenized wall so strong it would take a month of brute force just to see the error message. Why would I? They didn't ask. And as the door swung closed behind me, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, the wheels were already in motion. I could practically hear the countdown, every second clicking forward toward the 28th. Thursday morning rolled in like a hangover no one remembered drinking for. It was calm at first. Phones rang, Slack pings buzzed. Someone in HR microwaved a breakfast burrito that made the whole floor smell like gym socks and regret. Business as usual on the surface, but under it, just below the surface tension of fake smiles and corporate buzzwords, something was off. The first ripple came around 9:12 a.m. "Hey, when do campaign data updates usually drop?" It was an innocent enough question from one of the newer hires in marketing, a girl named Tori who still believed in bringing cupcakes for birthdays and wearing company-branded hoodies unironically. She asked it during the daily stand-up, voice light, like she already knew the answer. But the room got quiet. Data usually processed on the 27th, with reports going live in the employee portal by noon. Performance metrics landed the next morning, reliable as death and dental plans. That was the one thing the company never screwed up, ever. So when Bryce, the junior analyst, all gelled hair and monster energy, refreshed the dashboard and saw a red error blinking next to the scheduled data batch, he frowned, clicked it again. "Still red. Probably just a delay," he muttered to no one, because no one wanted to hear otherwise. He opened a ticket to IT with the subject line, "Data error." Probably nothing. Then went back to calculating mileage reimbursements and doom-scrolling Reddit. Meanwhile, in the back-end system I'd built from the ground up, a quiet handshake request was initiated, just like it had every month prior. The system, on schedule and polite as ever, pinged my private Gmail. Subject: authentication required. Monthly marketing data token expired. The message was short, clinical. It included the timestamp, the Nexus ID, the encrypted shell route, and a prompt to initiate the monthly unlock key. I saw it on my phone while sipping coffee in my apartment. Let it sit unread for a moment, then tapped, held, and deleted. No response. No bounce back. Just a void. Back at the office, David from IT was ignoring that same error log. He had bigger problems, like migrating the intern team to the new VPN software and trying to figure out why the Wi-Fi kept dropping in the West Wing. The Nexus's failed ping was buried under system noise, logged as a non-critical delay. The system flagged the missing key once, then again 6 hours later, then entered silent mode at 5:47 p.m. Bryce opened the admin panel one last time before leaving. The red error was still there. It now read, "Pending, token, not received." He blinked, hovered his mouse over the alert, read it twice, then shrugged. "It'll fix overnight," he told himself, grabbing his jacket. That night, several employees checked their online dashboards out of habit just to make sure things were lined up. Some noticed their data section said pending, One posted in the company Discord, "Anyone else's reports not showing? Just want to make sure it's not me." Another replied, "Probably just updating. It's been glitchy." Before they all went to bed, thinking the system would autocorrect, that maybe David would run a patch or Bryce would poke the back end and everything would hum back to life. No one knew the lockout had already hardened. No one realized they were now 14 hours away from a full-scale financial blackout. And the only person with the key, I was watching a rerun of Columbo with my phone on silent and a very full glass of wine. Friday, 7:03 a.m. Phones began ringing before the lights even flickered on in HR. Not the polite pre-coffee kind of calls. No, not the hey, just checking in energy. These were furious, panicked, end-of-the-world calls. Grown men growling into voicemail. Single moms crying mid-sentence. A regional sales rep in Tulsa demanding to know why his key performance indicators just flatlined. By 7:41 a.m., the receptionist stopped answering entirely. She was in the bathroom, hyperventilating after getting cursed out for the 5th time in 7 minutes. At 8 sharp, company Slack exploded. "Where's the data? My launch is due today. What is going on? I just checked with my team. No updates, nothing pending either." HR posted a blanket message at 8:09 a.m. "We are currently investigating a delay in data processing. Please remain patient." That did not go over well. By 9:17 a.m., someone from the marketing staff posted a TikTok titled, "When launch day ghosts you and you still got to hit targets." It featured them dramatically eating top ramen in the break room while crying fake tears. The video had 14,000 views by lunchtime. The hashtag #GhostLaunch started trending regionally. By noon, HR tried to do damage control. Meetings were called. The IT department was asked for urgent clarification. David, red-eyed and jittery, fumbled through logs and kept muttering things like protocol mismatch and it shouldn't be doing this. And Eric, the CSO, stepped in. Eric, with his $200 haircut and that same shark smile he'd worn during the layoffs, he walked into the IT war room like Caesar returning to Rome, completely confident that the peasants were just being dramatic. "All right," he said, cracking his knuckles like he was about to perform open-heart surgery with a PowerPoint. "Let's manually override the queue and force a data batch through the system." David didn't even respond, just handed Eric a keyboard. Eric clicked through the analytics admin panel, half impressed with himself, half annoyed. Got to the master rule, clicked override authentication. The screen blinked, then a prompt popped up. "Authentication key expired. Please enter valid monthly token." He tried again, same screen. Clicked request key. Error. Key not stored on local server. Please check authorized endpoint. Eric scowled. "Okay, so where the hell is the key?" David, sweating through his tech conference hoodie, cleared his throat like a man trying not to die on the spot. It was programmed to pull the token from an external email endpoint. Endpoint what?" Silence. David looked like a man explaining gravity to a caveman. "It's coded to a Gmail address. Personal. The dev who wrote the system, she said it that way when we didn't have secure cloud licensing." Eric's jaw twitched. "Are you telling me," he hissed, "that the one person with access to the data key is someone we fired last week?" David didn't say yes. He didn't have to. The silence said it for him. And just like that, the illusion shattered. The shiny new CSO, the master of efficiency and streamlined operations, had just learned the difference between cutting costs and amputating arteries. Outside the building's front desk was surrounded by employees holding up mobile analytics apps and shaking heads. Inside, chaos took root. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was a cyber attack. Others said it was an accounting glitch. One guy from marketing said it was Mercury retrograde. But the truth sat quietly in an email server no one could access. And the woman who could, I was at brunch, laughing, forking into a cinnamon roll the size of my former boss's ego. My phone vibrated once on the table, lit up with the system's second failed handshake of the day. I didn't even look, just reached over, flipped the phone face down, and sipped my coffee. By noon, the CSO's polished composure had cracked into a full-body twitch. Eric was pacing like a rat in a shoebox, tie half undone, barking orders with the elegance of a drowning man. It had been summoned, all of them, to the main conference room where they were now engaged in the world's most miserable group debugging session. David sat hunched over his terminal, chewing the inside of his cheek raw. His monitor pulsed with the same stubborn message for the third hour straight. Off-key required, external endpoint unreachable. It was official now. Confirmed, documented, and screenshotted. The analytics script was encrypted deeply and beautifully so, locked behind a tokenized key generator that accepted one and only one source of validation. An email pushed to a whitelisted address, my Gmail. Not data at company, not Eric. CSO at FutureTrack, my damn Gmail. And it didn't just send the request. It required a direct open of the email plus a physical 2FA token to verify the receipt, all coded into a system I'd written under the radar when it wouldn't approve the company's Cloud Key Vault access. She built this whole thing herself? Eric snapped, as if it was some kind of betrayal to be competent. David nodded without looking up. Yeah, she offered to build a token storage protocol on site, but finance shot it down. Said we didn't need it if she could just handle it manually. He glanced up. So she did. The board liaison, a nervous woman with a Bluetooth earpiece and an aura of constant legal dread, asked the obvious question, "Can we bypass it?" David laughed. It wasn't a funny laugh. It was the laugh of a man who knew the difference between oops and we're about to get sued in 17 states. She embedded a time delay checksum with a decaying cipher. If we brute force it, we'll corrupt the job queue. If we spoof it, the system auto-wipes the scheduled payments. It's like data suicide. So how do we get the key? David turned his monitor around and showed the screen. The system had already pinged my Gmail 4 times that day, each attempt politely titled, Unlock Key Request, Monthly Marketing Data Batch, 0628. The last one had time-stamped itself just 10 minutes ago. Across town, I was lying on a rooftop pool chair, sunscreen glistening on my collarbone, margarita sweating on the tile beside me. My phone buzzed quietly next to me. I peeked at it, saw the subject line, and smiled, the kind of smile you wear when your ex texts I miss you during their rebound breakup. Then, I swiped left and hit delete. No ceremony, no drama, just calm detachment. I wasn't being petty. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was the squirming. The slow realization that they'd cut off the limb that knew how the blood flowed. Back at the office, Eric's jaw unhinged when he saw the reply. "That's it?" he barked. "That's all she said?" David leaned back from his monitor. She's not wrong. By 5:00 p.m., rumors were oozing through the building like black mold. People said I'd booby-trapped the script, that I built a back door and sabotaged the company on purpose, that I was working with a competitor. One guy swore he saw my shadow in the parking lot last night, like I was Batman with a vendetta. But none of it could be proven. The logs were clean, the code elegant. The system wasn't broken. It was simply waiting, like a locked vault with a timer no one could hack. They'd fired the only person who knew the combination, and now I had their dignity, their desperation, and their public image dangling by a thread. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't hiding. I was detached. The kind of detached that comes after years of unpaid labor, quiet condescension, and watching promotions go to people who said synergy without vomiting. I'd moved on. But them? They were stuck. The data window was over. The updates never landed, and Monday morning, the lawsuits would begin. Monday hit like a wrecking ball dipped in legalese. The first subpoena arrived at 7:48 a.m., served directly to HR by a guy who looked thrilled to hand it over. By 10:15, there were 7 more, 1 from California, 2 from New York, 3 from Texas, and a particularly aggressive one from Illinois, where a team lead had already contacted a labor attorney and a local news affiliate. By noon, the words class action had been spoken out loud enough times to trigger nosebleeds. The employees weren't just mad, they were mobilized. Reddit threads lit up with horror stories. Hashtags evolved from ghost launch to fire and forget-me-not and but she warned you. Anonymous Glassdoor reviews started surfacing with surgical precision. One-liners like Eric couldn't manage a microwave dinner, let alone a finance department. The board convened an emergency Zoom session. Their faces looked like a bouquet of ulcers. "I thought she was junior staff," a VP muttered. "She built the system," David clarified, clearly exhausted. End-to-end, modular encryption, token authentication, smart queue failover. She was analytics. The head of legal, a man named Don who hadn't had a good night's sleep since the Clinton administration, looked like his blood pressure had entered another time zone. Why the hell wasn't she listed as mission critical? Eric said she was non-essential, someone offered. The Zoom went quiet. Don turned to Eric, who was slumped in a chair in the corner of the conference room, collar damp with flop sweat, cheeks blotchy from stress. "Fired the one person with master access to the system," Don said slowly, like explaining fire to a caveman. "She didn't say anything in her exit interview." Eric snapped back. "If she had told us..." "She did tell you," David cut in, tired of playing dumb. "She said someone needed to update the Nexus before the 28th. "Nexus?" one board member asked. "What the hell is that?" "It's like the heartbeat of the system," David replied. "If it doesn't get fed the right key at the right time, it locks out everything. And you didn't fix that?" "I can't. Only she has the encryption path and the key generator. It's stored locally on her personal machine. It's not corporate property. So hire her back," someone finally said, exasperated. Everyone turned to legal. Don shook his head. "She's under no obligation to help. Severance was signed, terms were clean. She holds the key. We hold nothing." "Well, call her then." David pulled out his phone, clearly reluctant. "She blocked Eric. Blocked HR. The only response I've gotten in 3 days was a thumbs-up emoji to a meme I sent last year. They tried email again, no response. They tried LinkedIn, my status read currently, "Oh, please direct inquiries to your life choices." It took 4 hours, but they finally tracked down my emergency contact through old HR paperwork. My cousin Nate, who ran a jet ski rental shack in Clearwater Beach. Nate's response? "Oh yeah, she's here. She just finished a mango daiquiri and rented a paddleboard. I think her phone's in airplane mode." When they asked if I could call back, he snorted. "Dude, she's been laughing for 3 days. Said something about watching finance bros do the worm." Eric, now visibly shaking, muttered, "She's on vacation." David nodded. "Yep. Can she come back temporarily?" David shrugged. "I'll have to ask her. But judging by my last git commit message, good luck, boys. You're going to need it." He wouldn't hold his breath. The board demanded a plan. Don said the only plan was begging. Eric said nothing, just stared at the screen, realizing too late that severance doesn't mean surrender, and silence isn't forgiveness. They needed me, and for the first time, it wasn't my resume doing the talking. It was reality. It took until Tuesday afternoon for them to finally swallow their pride and contact my lawyer. Not HR. Not Eric. Not David with his twitchy apologies and Starbucks gift cards. My lawyer. A soft-spoken woman named Evelyn, whose voice could cut through a boardroom like a chainsaw through butter. She took the call during her lunch break and listened calmly, professionally, as a legal rep from the company stumbled through a prepared statement about seeking external consulting support to restore operational continuity. Evelyn didn't interrupt. She let the silence hang just long enough to remind them who was begging. Then she said, "My client is willing to listen, but only on her terms." A PDF landed in the company inbox 30 minutes later. It was a masterpiece. Consulting agreement proposal. Duration 6 months. Role: lead systems recovery consultant. Compensation: $150,000 flat retainer paid up front. Working hours: remote, asynchronous. Her discretion: no meetings, no Zoom calls, no deliverables without prior notice. And at the very bottom, in bold, underlined, and highlighted yellow, condition of engagement: public acknowledgement of the company's failure. Signed letter of apology from CSO Eric Thomas, to be posted on the internal company intranet homepage for a minimum of 7 days. They read that line 10 times like it was written in hieroglyphs. Eric's reaction was nuclear. "I'm not signing a damn confession," he exploded, pacing the room like a coked-up stockbroker. "This is extortion." David didn't even look up from his laptop. "No, Eric. This is justice. Legal advised compliance. Board demanded compliance." By 6:00 p.m., a document began circulating the upper floors for approval. "To all future track employees, we acknowledge the recent disruption in data services and take full responsibility for the oversight that led to it. The systems previously managed by Ms. Alvarez were integral to company operations, and her departure was mishandled. We apologize for the stress and hardship this caused. We are actively working with her to resolve the matter and ensure this never happens again. Eric Thomas, CSO." He signed it in silence. The next morning, employees opened their laptops and saw it pinned to the homepage. The reactions were immediate. Slack blew up. Screenshots hit Reddit. Someone photoshopped Eric into a doghouse next to a gold-plated Welcome Back Queen plaque. HR tried to do damage control but gave up before lunch. At 11:45 a.m., my lawyer forwarded the payment receipt. $150,000 wired. Immediate, confirmed. At 12:01 p.m., Evelyn emailed a 2-word message to the analytics server administrator. "Stand by." Back on the coast, I sat beneath a striped umbrella, swirling iced coffee with one hand and flipping through a thriller novel with the other. My phone vibrated once. A single, harmless ping. I unlocked it and opened a terminal app, typed 5 lines, hit send. The Nexus purred to life like a dragon waking from hibernation. It accepted the key without hesitation. Inside the company's backend, the scheduled data updates queued like perfect little soldiers. The system hummed. The monster I built had been fed, and for the first time in 5 days, nobody at FutureTrack said a word. I didn't ask for thanks. I didn't want applause. I wanted them to live with the knowledge that they'd had to kneel, that the same people who ignored my emails, questioned my salary, and called me support staff had just paid me more in 1 day than they ever did in a quarter. I controlled the keys. I wrote the rules, and they'd put it all in writing. The code arrived at precisely 11:59 p.m., not a second early, not a second late. A slim 128-character string embedded in a simple text file titled "You're welcome.txt." Attached to a bare-bones email with no subject line, no signature, just the words, "Key below." Don't lose it this time. The Nexus received it instantly. The lock opened, the gears turned, and like magic, no, like precision, 5,000 direct data updates scattered across the country like dollar bills in a hurricane. Analytics hit at 12:01 a.m. on the dot. The second disaster had been narrowly avoided by 60 seconds. Phones stopped ringing. Emails stopped screaming. A silence fell over the building like fresh snow, unnatural, soft, and filled with unspoken dread. In HR, A junior associate actually cried. In accounting, someone ordered pizza. In IT, David locked himself in the server room and chain-smoked 3 vapes while whispering, "Thank you," like a prayer. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because while the money flowed, so did the truth. At 6:18 a.m., a screenshot of Eric's apology letter pinned to the company intranet hit Twitter. Captioned, "Turns out our data system runs on humiliation." Within 2 hours, it had been picked up by TechPulse, The Verge, and a scathing op-ed in Wired titled, "Fired Then Required: How One Woman Outcoded Corporate Arrogance." The press couldn't get enough. A mid-level systems analyst had single-handedly held a tech company's data hostage, not maliciously, not illegally, but as a result of being too damn good at her job. And then she got paid 6 figures to clean up the mess the people above her made. By the end of the day, the CSO was invisible. PR wrote a statement saying he was taking time to reflect with family. Nobody bought it. By Friday, his resignation was official. No fanfare, no goodbye email, just a forwarded, effective, immediately memo. His legacy was simple. He fired the woman who ended up saving the company. And I was sipping coffee on a balcony bathed in 78 degrees sunlight, wrapped in a linen robe that smelled like lavender, watching 2 pigeons fight over a croissant crumb on the deck railing. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. From hiring at Rathlen Techcom. Subject: Lead Systems Architect Role. $450K package. I locked the phone without opening it. Not because I wasn't interested, but because they could wait. They all could wait now. I'd already won, and this time, I wasn't selling my piece for a salary.